Hi everyone, this is Ripper of Ripper Gaming, and I'm going to be piecing together several bits of video for this one, but I wanted to just record this as kind of a intro to the video. So I did a video about Diablo 4 and the settings, and it plays fabulously. And I've had several people reach out and say, what am I doing wrong? Why is this so slow? Why is it jittery? That kind of thing. And I could not find much wrong with it, other than the fact that if you were downloading something, it could slow the game down. And so I saw a slowdown during that time, but that was really it. So I'll go ahead and start by saying that when I reinstalled everything, I did the BIOS update and it looked like it completed. But then when I checked later, I was actually still on the original 317 BIOS. And so when I saw that, I'm like, okay, well, let me go ahead and get it updated. And I updated to the 319 BIOS. Now, that BIOS is the one they put out to try and improve performance for lower wattage. And since I have a Steam Deck, if I really want long battery life, I'm probably going to use it. And I can use the lower wattage for that. This device is primarily for me to play, nicer, more beautiful graphics AAA games. I'll play my indie games on my Steam Deck, but things like Diablo 4, I'm going to play on this device. And I know it's going to have less battery life, and that's fine. I'm usually going to play by a plug. So once I did that, I went in to play Diablo and realized I was seeing definitely reduced performance. So I figured I would make a video about this, showing you a comparison between the old BIOS, which is the one it ships with, and the newer BIOS, which I just updated to and didn't realize that I was actually running the 317 BIOS in my video on Diablo 4. So I'm not going to tell you to go one way or another. Messing with the BIOS is not something you should probably do if you're not used to working with computers, but I just want to cover it and show you the differences and let you kind of make your own decision as to what you want to do. So I'm going to be sticking with the older BIOS just because it's much better performance in my opinion. But I'll go ahead and show you through that and kind of piece these videos together so you can see the comparison for yourself. And if you appreciate this video, please give me a like and subscribe. It helps the channel a lot. So we'll be on to the next video in just a minute here. Hi everyone, this is Ripper of Ripper Gaming, and today I'm going to tell you why you might want to consider downgrading the BIOS on your Asus ROG Ally. So I did a video showing the best settings for Diablo, and a lot of people were kind of surprised at how good the performance was that I was getting. And so I realized that when it had done the BIOS update, when I first installed everything, it didn't seem to take. So I was actually on the older BIOS. Well, I went ahead and updated the BIOS, and I noticed that I am getting the slower performance like some of the people on my previous video mentioned. So 68 frames per second isn't bad, but I'm actually in turbo mode. I was getting that type of FPS in performance mode before, and once I put it in performance mode, you'll see I go down into the 50s. It does go up into the 60s some here, but this is the area where I was in. There's not really a big boost when you go into turbo mode, and I was getting close to 80 or 90 frames per second in turbo mode, and that was unplugged. So I'm just going to record this footage here, and then I'm going to downgrade the BIOS, and I will be back to test the performance in this exact same spot. Just so you know, I'm in Champion's Demise. I'm just south of the three pedestals here. You can kind of see on the map. So I'm going to bring this back to the exact same spot, kill a few things, and see what type of frames per second I'm getting. So this is going to be my comparison. So we'll go ahead and drop off here, and I'll be back in a little bit. So I think it's not going to allow us to easily downgrade, which means that I might have to kind of force it here. So we'll restore our pages from before. We're going to go into our BIOS and firmware, and I'm just going to probably have to do the Easy Flash utility to get it to allow me to do this. This one might be a little bit more involved. Typically would have to put this on a drive, like a USB drive, and then flash it from there. So I'm going to get my USB-C drive, which I believe I have somewhere in my mess here. And I'm going to see if I can just put that file on there and use the Easy Flash utility to update it. So we're going to run up here, I'm going to right click this, copy that, bring it over to our USB drive. I don't really want to open that, I want to go over here. I'm just going to put it in basically the root of the Windows drive that I loaded this with. And then the Easy Flash utility should be in the BIOS, and so we'll just have to load that by restarting the device and going into the BIOS. Okay, so it looks like that is copied over, and at this point I'm going to go ahead and go into shutdown. I'm going to tell it to actually do a full shutdown. Standard Windows service running while you're trying to shut down. No big issue on that one. So we'll let this shut down and then we'll boot it back up. And I believe you hold down the down volume button when you're booting it, and that will get us into the BIOS. Okay, so now that we have the power off, I've gone ahead and hooked up power, because you're going to need power to do a BIOS update, as well as this here, which is my hub that has the USB-C drive in it. So that's going to be where we get our BIOS file. So at this point we're going to turn on the device and then immediately hold the down volume. So this should just take a second, then it should boot into the BIOS. So there we go. There's our BIOS. So you're in easy mode now. You're going to have to go to advanced mode to do this. So there's a little button for advanced mode here, or you can hit Y. So we're going to hit Y. And then you're going to want to go over to advanced. So I'm just using the directional pad here to go to advanced. Now if we go down here a little bit, you'll see Asus Easy Flash 3 utility. So I'm going to zoom in, see if that can maybe make that a little bit easier for y'all to see. So I'm going to go into that, and then it's going to show me multiple drives. I'm going to pick the one that's 32 gigs because this is a 256 gig, but the BIOS has limitations just because of the way it's designed. But that is the correct one. So if you look on the right here, you can see I've got my ROG Ally drivers, I've got everything for my Windows set up, and I have this BIOS file I downloaded earlier, which is 317. So we're on 319, we want to go back to 317. So I'm going to hit A on that, and it says, do you want to use this file? We're going to hit yes, and then we're going to let it sit there. So system will restart and update BIOS automatically after 3 seconds. So at this point you want to just leave the device alone. Make sure you've got power. Do not unplug it. Do not mess with it. You can brick a device by doing a BIOS update if done incorrectly. So you want to be safe in that regard. So I'm going to zoom back out here and just let you kind of watch through the BIOS update. It'll pop into a utility and do its thing. So here we go. Utility allow you to update this. Do not shut down. BIOS update will start in 60 seconds. I'm just going to go ahead and hit yes here. Let it do its thing. And then we're going to leave it alone. So I'm probably going to fast forward through this part on the video edit just because it's going to take probably 5 to 10 minutes. So we'll let it do its thing. It'll look fast to you, but just remember, if you do this, it'll take you a good 5 to 10 minutes for it to update usually. Alright, so at this point we are now past the fast forwarding. I'm going to log in. Just going to cover the screen just so I don't share my personal information. And should boot into Windows here, and then it'll start up. We've got it set to start directly into the game library here. So the BIOS should be updated, or technically updated, but also downgraded at the same time. So it should be downgraded, and we're going to do the exact same test we did just a little while ago by launching battle.net, and we're going to play Diablo 4. Alright. So we'll jump right into it here. And we're going to go and compare and see where we're at. Now remember, at 15 watts, we were in the 50 range, maybe up to 60s, but that was about the best we could get. So as soon as we get in here, I'm going to go in with my Necro to the same place. We're going to run over the Champion's Demise, and we're going to see what happens. Okay, so we're going to jump on here with the same character, so we know we got the same visual effects and everything like that. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit. We go down to Girondai. And Champion's Demise is just a short little horse ride over to the right. Okay, so we're going to turn on our real-time monitor. I'm actually going to disconnect this because my last test was without power, so I want to make sure that there's no power going into the device and we're running off battery to have a fair test here. Okay, so we're in 15 watt mode. We're going to turn on the real-time monitor. So we're in our 60s here, but we want to be in the same place so we can do the best comparison. So, you know, a little fluctuation. This isn't bad. Getting down to 50s isn't a big deal. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the pin there just so we can get over there quickly. Might have to fight a little bit along the way, but this is usually a pretty quick ride here. Okay, we are here. So we're going to jump in, we're going to go to the same spot, and we're going to see what happens. Okay, so before we had kind of gone to the left here, we found the 3 pillars. We went just a little bit south of it. Of course, right now, look at our FPS. I mean, that's pretty daggum good. And just to be clear, we are in 15 watt performance mode. We're not even in turbo mode. You know, I've just got to check this since we're in the 80s right here. What happens if we bump it up to the 25 watt turbo mode? Look at our FPS. Now I'm going to go to the same area because I want to treat it the same way and be fair. Running into a wall there. Let me go up here. Yeah. Sorry, sometimes it's hard to see this screen when I'm kind of hovering over a camera, but it gives you all the best view. So here's the 3 pillars that we were at before, and we were just south of those. So we went down here and fought a little bit. And then we kind of checked everything at that point. Okay, let's kill these folks real quick and then go down to the same spot we're at. So we're getting in the 50s for FPS. This is with a lot of fighting on screen. So that's about what we saw before. Well, there's still good density in this area at least. Okay, so on the map we were just down here. I think it was just right around the corner here. Of course, oh, I think it was actually in the spot we were just in, so we'll head back over there in just a second, clear these guys out real quick. Okay, so the spot we're looking for is right in that little cove over here. Yeah, right about here. This is probably about the best we're going to get a comparison. So at this point we are pulling 70, 80 FPS. If I put us in the turbo mode and give it a second to kick in, we're in the 90s. So I hate to say this, but I think this is clear evidence that the older BIOS has much better performance. So I think it has something to do with the modifications they did for the lower power performance. I don't know if I'm going to get Asus to reach out and let us know what's going on, but I really think it'd be nice if they could give us a happy medium here, because I think everybody would love to be getting 90 FPS, even if it's not in every single area. That's just pretty impressive for this device. But you know, that's playing in, you know, turbo mode. But even if we take ourselves down to performance, we still have very impressive performance in the 70s up to 80. And then, so of course in congested areas you get around in the 50s, but this is still pretty good for a dungeon. So anyway, that concludes it, and I'll let you kind of make your own decision to if you want to downgrade to the older BIOS or not, but it seems to have a much better performance effect for me, and so I'm going to stick with it for now. Anyway, this is Ripper of Ripper Gaming again. If you like the video, please give me a like and a subscribe. I would appreciate it a lot. Anyway, thanks everyone.